2017 will be a really important year for this community. And we had a couple of choices to make. We could decide to, with the 50-year commemoration of the summer of 1967, we could forget about it and hope everyone else did too. We could do a standalone exhibit that told a story, perhaps maybe from one or two perspectives. But you know, a story this big takes all of us. And that's why we launched the Detroit 67 Looking Back to Move Forward project. And we launched it and we convened it. We don't own it totally. We own the historical context. We will do the looking back part, certainly, because that's our core strength, that's our mission. But it's really important that we engage the rest of the community to everyone find their place in the present, and together we can inspire the future. There's really a couple of things that we hope to accomplish. One is we want people to come away with better understanding the events that led up to 1967, not just the week, but the exhibition will start in 1917. The whole project has a 150-year scope. So first we're going to look back 50 years to 1917 and look at all the factors and the circumstances and the conditions and the changes in the world environment that just caused Detroit to be where it was at in 1967. So understanding all those factors and clearing up the myths from reality. There's a lot of misinformation, and I think it's really important that people understand what the facts are, draw their own conclusions perhaps, but understand what the facts are. The second piece is, so what does that mean for today? What does that mean for the present? Even if you weren't around, you didn't live here, or you weren't born, it's really important that you understand how did those things that occurred really affect where we are today. And the third piece is to connect people to opportunities that are going on today that can help us result in the future that we all know is there. What I mean by that is there's a lot of good things going on in the community right now. People don't know about them. Here's an opportunity to create some awareness and lift up some of the good things that are going on and perhaps inspire some people to suggest other ways. What I've learned from the experience are really two things. One is the complexity of the story and how many factors resulted in what occurred in 1967. And I think the complexity that supported by facts that started 50 years ago and that were many, many factors that helped result in where Detroit found itself in 67. The second piece is misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation as to what really occurred, what caused it, and what the long-lasting impacts are. The entire project is based on the concept of community engagement. So we need to engage the community because I think we will have not succeeded if we don't make every effort we can to make sure that we have a multiplicity of perspectives in this story. Because depending on where you were, if you were living in the city on 12th and Claremont, your experience perhaps was very different than if you were living in a three-bedroom ranch in Warren. One's not better, one's not worse, but it's important to have all those perspectives. So we're going to work really hard to convene the community. That's why the project has about 100 partners, ranging from New Detroit to community groups to business organizations, because everyone needs to have the opportunity and feel welcome to contribute to the story. So convening the community is a big part of it. The other piece is we want to make sure that everyone knows about it. And we don't own the topic. There's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of focus on this in the coming months. And we want it to come together as a positive effort and a symbol of the community coming together to really make a difference going forward. The story clearly has national significance. You know, Detroit is a classroom and everyone's watching. And you know, you could argue that Detroit is a city of extremes, but what happens in Detroit in some way or another usually happens in another city or another place, you could argue around the world at some point. So I think it's really important that the lessons that we learn from this project are transferable to other communities, because most urban cities in America and elsewhere face similar challenges and opportunities that we have. I think another important outcome or opportunity the project provides is an opportunity to control the narrative. Come July 2017, we think Detroit is in a great position to again demonstrate leadership just like we've done over the past few years since bankruptcy, to really redefine who we are, take where the city is and move it forward, as opposed to having the national media come in and say, well, July 2017, Detroit looks like it did 50 years ago, which we know is not true. Do we know there's a lot of work to do? Absolutely. But here's our opportunity to demonstrate that we're using this opportunity in a proactive, well thought out, inclusive way to help influence and inspire the future so we realize the full potential we all know is out there. One of the outcomes we feel will happen is really the providing the opportunity, and I'll steal a word from something I read in the Detroit Regional Chamber of the power of conversation, the power of creating opportunities and the likelihood for people to come together and discuss those challenges that the community faces and every community faces. Will everyone agree? Not necessarily, but sometimes that's a really good approach to start making some progress, as incremental as it might be, that will help us reach the full potential we know we have.